Welcome, welcome. Tone Zone. Happy Sunday. Yes, it is Sunday. So glad to be back. This is the 5th episode here in the zone, and I'm so glad that my guest tonight is Lee Tasjan. Let's get him all linked up here. Let's go live with my friend Aaron. Hello.
Hey.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Wonderful,
You look
wonderful. So what is going on? Man, I have not seen you in so long. It's crazy.
I know. My goodness.
You, well, everybody that is watching, there's a bunch of people joining right now, and this is Lee Tasjan. I mean, if you don't know him, I don't think there's too many that don't know you at this point in time in your career, right? I mean, well, congratulations on the new record.
Thank you.
It's outstanding.
Thank you.
It's outstanding.
Thank you so much. That means a whole lot coming from you.
Yeah,
you're one of my favorites. So.
Thanks, man. It's such a refreshing, I mean, everything that you do has a really refreshing quality to it, which I don't even know how to describe that really, other than that feeling of, that you hear the influences, but also it's all just you as well. And you can tell. You can also tell when it's you playing. I love that as well. It's so great. So we're going to get into some questions here.
Totally.
A series of questions. And, man, the one thing that I wanted to ask you, first of all, that has nothing to do with guitar playing, was, so for some, I have this impression of you, and maybe I'm completely off base and wrong, but you seem to have such a positive outlook on everything. Like everything that I see that you do, and even how you lift people up on social media. I mean, is that just you, or are you doing that on purpose? Because it really comes across, and it's beautiful,
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of times, I get down, I think, the way that everybody does, you know, and sometimes it's just life, and sometimes it's just the, sickness of the industry that we're in. But, we all get down from time to time. For me, one of the things that pulls me out of my funk is, kind of with outward positivity.
I lost you for one second.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah.
Am I good? Yeah. So one of the ways I rally against feeling bad sometimes is by being really outwardly positive. It's almost kind of a little bit of the idea of fake it till you make it.
Sure.
If that makes sense, you know? So, it may not always be, I may not be feeling like sunshine or whatever, 100%, but putting myself in that place where I'm saying something that I love about somebody else that I love or whatever just helps me get out of that spot, Yeah.
That's great. I mean, that's good to remember. This is a hard business for our mental health, for sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, just the especially early in careers for people when they're getting no's, one after the other.
Yeah.
Just to kind of stay believing in oneself and all that stuff. I kind of, in our tour together that we did, and just sort of, following what you're doing, I've never known if you are kind of like a gearhead or anything, or I feel like you're the type of player that really, you're like, whatever I have, I'm just going to make sound great. That's kind of my impression in a way. Like if you just were given any guitar and any amp, you'd make it sing. I do believe that.
I sat in last night with Elizabeth Cook, and I plugged a I just plugged a 335 straight into a solid state amp, you know, no pedal, no reverb. But the song was this lightning fast chicken picking kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I love Red Volkert for that.
Yes.
And every time I've ever seen him play, it's like a PV solid state, you know, with probably whatever Telecaster somebody in town had, it seems like.
Yeah.
And it sounds fantastic. Another guitar player that I noticed who does that is, for me, is John Leventhal, who is Roseanne Cash's partner.
Yeah.
He seems to, no matter what guitar, no matter what amp, no matter if he's using pedals or not, every time I encounter his playing, it just sounds really good to me. And I guess what I mean by good is like it has a very pleasing tone. You know, whatever he's doing,
his choices,
you know,
all of that.
His choices, fit the music well, but also like it always, like, no matter what the room, it seems like, if it's a really boomy room or boxy or whatever, like he's found a way to just have all the sound be coming from his fingertips, basically, you know? So it's like, you know, I've really tried to reapproach my thoughts even on like guitar tone and stuff like that, like sort of with that in mind. If I can have, you know, a place to be coming from where my hands are doing most of the work in terms of what it sounds like, then I have more control over that too. And it's like, no matter what situation I can get into, I can find my way into something that feels cool.
Yeah, very, very well said. It really is in the fingers. I believe that more and more as well as I progress as a guitar player. I think that's the, you know, with maybe it is specific to guitar players. I'm sure it's every kind of instrument that people play, but there's this wanting to continue to grow, like continue to learn more all the time and just like take in as much as you can. So mentioning those guitar players you just mentioned, who are your top three? Who do you love? Who do you love the most? I mean, can you even narrow it down?
I mean, definitely the top three would be hard to say definitively. I would definitely have to put Rosetta Tharpe up there. I would definitely have to put Freddie Green from the Count Basie Orchestra, the famous rhythm jazz guitar player from the Count Basie Orchestra. He was a huge influence and still is in a lot of ways. I reference him all the time, actually. I mean, you know, there's so many. It's like, it's hard. It really is tough to say just three, but those two just made all the sense in the world to me because they both sort of approached, like Freddie Green never played a solo.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like it was all about, well, actually, I read somewhere that he did play one solo live, and I can't remember. He was sitting. He was playing as part of a combo, and like basically the band leader forced him to.
Really? Did he just not want to, or?
I think he just felt. I think he just felt like his thing.
Yeah.
You know, was that you know, that swing, you know, that went along with the cymbals really on the drums, you know, whether it was the sock cymbal or the ride or whatever, it created that forward motion, you know. And so I think he just felt like that's my thing. Like it's sort of like the Luther Perkins thing, like with Johnny Cash, like, you know, how come you don't ever try this kind of picking, Luther? Is like, because I found it, man. All I do is I go dink, chicka dink, chicka dink, chicka dink, and it sounds amazing. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the thing about guitar that I think we forget sometimes. Like, you don't have to possess like Steve Vai level pyrotechnics in order to do something that really is like innovative and interesting. And like a lot of times it's the really simple things that we do that can really have an effect on the like landscape of how people are thinking about guitar culture at the time, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is that. I mean, speaking for myself, I am not, you know, I'm not a great improviser. I mean, I'm getting better, but I can't just like do something really quick all of a sudden, you know, like I really practice shit.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's what it takes. For me, you know, I'm the same way. You know, in a lot of performance settings, I'm kind of winging it, but like I can only afford to wing it because of the hours and hours and hours I spent before that.
Yeah.
Working on stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, I mean, at the end of the day too, I think people really do want to hear melody in guitar soloing, which then means it's going to be something simpler at least, you know?
Yes.
And
totally.
I really feel like people love that the most, you know? Well,
I think you're right.
There are the people that love the 12-minute shredding, and I love that all day long too. But,
Same.
you know, when you're just listening to a song in its 3 minutes and 30-second form, you want to hear like a beautiful, concise, melodic solo that was well put together, you know?
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so you gave me 2 out of 3. That's cool. We'll end it there. That's good. It's hard.
I'll say Brandy Zdan for number 3.
Stop it. Stop. So what would be, if you had to choose, what would be your favorite guitar amp combo?
I really love a smaller amp thing, which is just something I think I, you know, got into after like reading an interview with Billy Gibbons where he said a lot of his tones were gotten with, you know, just smaller amplifiers.
Sure.
And so I began to collect like, you know, Pro Juniors and Champs and you know, Princeton's and all those, you know, I also love the era of rock and roll in which those amps were sort of more standard kind of issue amplifiers or whatever, those kind of that earlier, you know, 50s, 60s, like I love that time for guitar. So like those amps, a lot of times for me, it's like it's exactly the tone I'm going for. Yeah. Another one that my main 2 that I utilize like live these days are a B between a Tweed Deluxe and a Princeton Reverb.
Yeah.
And like the Princeton is really great for like 12-string stuff or like chimier, just kind of the cleaner kind of thing. Yeah. And then like for me, rock and roll doesn't get any better than like a cranked up Tweed Deluxe. You know, I know it's like the Neil Young thing and like all that for sure, but like, you know, it just, the saturation, it's so gooey and like sticky in all these cool ways. Like, that's an ideal situation. I think my favorite is just like, I love guitar. Like I really love guitars with P90 pickups too. Like that like a small, like a, you know, any sort of like Champ or like, you know, whatever, like just cranked up with like a P90 guitar. Yeah. You know, I have an SP with P90s in it. Like that combination, that's like, can't go wrong.
So good. So good. Great answer. Great answer. Do you have a lot of I mean, when you're working at home or in the studio, do you kind of just roam around to everything though? When it's at your disposal, of course. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, there's, you know, I'm having played in the like extraordinarily wide array of bands that I've played in.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was in Driving and Crying, for example, you know, they played Marshalls. So I had to learn how to use a Marshall amp because I'd never used one. before, you know, so I had to learn how to use like a JCM 800 and,
Nice.
you know, get it dialed in and sounding cool and all that kind of stuff. When I was in the Dolls, they had a deal with Orange.
Okay. Yeah.
So we had to play an Orange backline. I'd never used an Orange head and cab before. So I had to learn how to, you know, do that thing, you know.
Nice.
So, you know, in a way, it's like, you know, I was lucky like that I just got to play in a couple situations that sort of demanded I expand my palette and sort of learn how to do these various, you know, sort of things. Because, you know, they're all, it's like a guitar, you know, it's totally its own thing. Each one is its own thing, you know.
It is. And one is not better than the other. It's just,
I agree. Yeah.
Just is, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Taste. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What flavor do you want to put on this or that or whatever, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So what has the pandemic allowed you to do that maybe you wouldn't have done before? And that, like, just as a musician in general?
You know, it's gotten me, and part of this too was because of the record that I just made and like thinking about recreating it live, but it really got me thinking about effects, honestly, in a way that I hadn't really considered it before, because I was trying to generate sounds or needed to generate sounds live that oftentimes in the studio had been created as a result of layering sounds on top of each other, really. You know, where like I would create a tone that sounded really cool in the room, we would capture that and then maybe blend it even with something else in post or whatever, or sometimes even it was an instrument just doubling it quietly, you know, but it kind of gave it this multi-dimensional kind of effect. So it's like I've had to think about how to accomplish that outside of that world. So it's had me like trying out all these kind of pedals I just never really imagined myself using, synth guitar pedals, and like there's some really cool ones that aren't like terribly expensive that actually do
the job.
I mean, I guess maybe technically they're like creating some sort of like audio fidelity that some people might like not like because it's not as pure or something, but I actually love when that happens. It's like some gnarly overtone or something, like just because the pedal's only $150, that actually appeals to me. So like I'm always incorporating that like into my sound, this like kind of, you know, for a while I was like the king of the $50 guitar. You know, like I didn't own a guitar that wasn't like something I'd bought in a music store for, you know, less than $100. And I just loved, you know, I had this like Epiphone Les Paul Jr., you know, that was just jet black, one pickup, you know? And it was like, man, you know, I loved that guitar. I wish I still had it. But yeah, I think like the pandemic has like sort of gotten me going down this route with guitar that like is not normally my thing, but I've been enjoying it because it's, you know, like what I've noticed is, and I'm sure, you know, this might be obvious to people who use effects all the time, but it changes the way I play the instrument.
Yes.
So in that way, it's also like causing me to even just reevaluate like how I'm playing and all that kind of stuff. And so in a lot of ways, like it's been both like an expanding thing and then also a thing of like, oh wait, like I don't know how to do this yet. Like I need to teach myself how to like play this in a way where it, you know, functions how I want it to function, the effect, you know?
Yeah, I love that. That's really interesting. I've always been the player that plays with a lot of effects in my life. So just because I love it. It's kind of just adds emotion to me. You know, all of those things. It's just more expressive. I remember when I was younger, I hated the acoustic guitar so much, and I almost still do, just because you know, it just does one thing and there's no sustain and it's hard to do dynamics, but I'm slowly trying to soften that as I get older. But like I remember picking up an electric and just being like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for, you know, as a guitar player. Like even in my teens, and I was learning all sorts of Joni Mitchell stuff and doing just learning all sorts of things. But I just remember like, I didn't feel it in my like gut and heart yet. And then as soon as I put an electric guitar on, I was like, oh yes. Okay. This is this is the thing, you know? So funny. But yeah, I've always been that effects player. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm owning it. Although, I mean, I'm with you too, though. You don't need much. You don't need much if the fingers are happening. Okay. Next question. Desert Island Guitar.
Ooh. I'm gonna have to, you know, this is a Chuck Prophet saying, but I agree with him. I gotta go Telecaster. It's the Swiss Army knife of guitars. You know, you really can do anything with it, and it just works. You know, it just like, it's the most flawless guitar I think I've ever encountered in that way, where you can really apply it to like any situation, and you're gonna be able to pull up a tone that works and sounds cool.
Yeah. You really can. And yeah, they're workhorses. They won't fuck up on you most of the time.
Exactly. Yeah. They're like indestructible.
Yeah.
Like I've literally taken Telecasters off at the end of shows and thrown them at drum sets and then come back on stage for the encore and picked it up and it was still in tune.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good choice. I mean, it just does the thing. It can be very versatile if you work with it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a great answer. I love it. So you've done a lot of producing in your life, which I love. What would you say your style is in terms of how you produce a record?
My most important thing that I love to talk about, like the whole time I'm making the record, is like, what's the goal for the record, basically, you know? And like, it's a question that I ask the artists or the band or whoever, like from the beginning, is like, what are we trying to get out? What's the experience that we're trying to have here? Because it really, you know, depending on, you know, what the true desire of the person who's making the project is, like, sometimes their desire for the project can just be to have the experience of being in the recording studio, you know, and you know, being able to like try things out and work in a way that they don't normally get to at home, you know. And so you're just sort of like, okay, if that's what this person is going for, I shouldn't be pushing for, you know, every take to be this or that or whatever, because that's not the goal here.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, you know, this is another great Chuck Prophet quote, actually. I've asked him recently, I said, you know, he just produced this band called the Ruby News that I love, like 70s harmony band.
Oh, cool.
They were brothers and like power pop, so good. And I said, do you think you'll do more producing? And he said, absolutely not. I said, why not? He said, because you can't. I don't think he was talking about the Ruby News when he said this. I think he was talking about other past experiences maybe, but he said, you know, you really can't want it more than the artist. You know, as the producer, if you're in the room and you're pushing and you're getting pushed back for that, you know, maybe that's not like, you know, the ideal situation to be in. Like, as a producer, you don't want to be kind of dragging people along behind you trying to assail this mountain. You know, you need to like make sure. That's why I love talking about the goals of the record, because that way, like, everybody can be on the same page about like what we're trying to accomplish, basically.
Yeah, that's you know, I have rarely heard anyone say what you just said, and that is that's fantastic. That's the way that it should be approached all the time. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's, you know, a lot of these conversations like that I end up having about records, whether I'm producing or not, like it occurs to me a lot of times like there are these really simple, dumb conversations like that don't always happen.
Right.
And you can, and because, you know, it's like people are, you know, maybe like, you know, think it's too simple, or like, you know, or just in a rush to move on to the next stage or whatever. It's like sometimes having these really dumb, like simple discussions about like, well, what are we trying to do, you know, with this record? Like, you know, how do we want to feel while we're making it? You know, like what, you know, what's the like, you know, desired situation in terms of like what the day-to-day of making it looks like. You know, those seem so simple and like basic to me, but like I really think they can end up like setting precedents early on like that with such simple things can create like a domino effect on the record where it just makes everything seem easier or feel easier because everybody's just right on the same page.
Absolutely. Everybody knows. I mean, if you're making a record for radio, for instance,
right,
you have to have certain things in mind. You know?
Totally different thing than just making a record with your buddies or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Love that so much. That's so good. So again, refreshing, Aaron. all of it. Love it. Okay. So what would be your favorite guitar moment in your career, if you can think of one quickly that comes to mind? And it doesn't even have to be, I mean, it should involve you, but it doesn't necessarily have to be your moment, but you know.
I mean, I definitely, this one sticks out to me as like just this like the most incredible, probably the most grateful that I think I've ever felt to like be a musician. Like just one of those moments where it was an incredible thing that happened, and somehow I was grounded enough in the moment also to be like, I can't believe this is happening, and like I'm so lucky, and like I should just never forget how this feels right now, because if I'm ever down, I can remember it and know that like, you know, things are going to get better. But I was playing guitar and Driving and Crying. We were doing a music festival in Mexico, of all places.
Nice.
So we're playing Driving and Crying's famous song "Straight to Hell," and for this song, God, I can't get away from this guy. Chuck Prophet was on the bill, so he got up and played guitar with us. Peter Buck was on the bill, so he got up and played guitar with us. And so I'm standing on stage with Kevin Kinney and Peter Buck and Chuck Prophet, and we're in the middle of the song, and all of a sudden the crowd just starts going bananas. And I'm just like, I'm kind of looking around like, wait, what's happening? And I turn my head and just as I'm like turning my head, John Paul Jones is walking onto stage carrying a mandolin, and just turns his head and winks at me because he saw like my just face go like, you know, like, oh my God. Yeah. And he turns and he winks at me and I just turn around and I look out, you know, and we're like, you know, in front of this beautiful town square with this gorgeous church, you know, beautiful stained glass and like stone architecture and like these incredibly like passionate music fans, you know, and it's nighttime and it's beautiful and we're near the beach and the air smells like the ocean. And it was just like, man, I don't know what on earth I did to deserve to stand here right now, but I am so, you know, lucky and I just want to remember, like, you know, we all work hard. It's how hard we work. You know, oftentimes in the music business, the result of it is not necessarily like an amalgamation of the effort that's been put in. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So when we find ourselves in these situations that are just like unreal, you know, almost, it's like we have to pay tribute to that in a way because, absolutely, you know, the same way that it could have been me, it could have been, you know, a lot of other people, and you know, you recognize like just the good fortune of the situation, like of playing music, of being able to fall ass backwards into a
Yeah.
situation like that, you know,
Yeah.
and have some gratitude for it because, you know, I mean, you could try for 100 years, you'd never like set out to do that and do it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things come together through, you know, all these magical, like weird, you know, funny way energy transferring and like all that kind of, you know, physics.
Yeah.
But the physics of the universe, you know, and we can affect the physics of the universe. And I feel like one of the ways we can positively do that is when we take time in those moments to be grateful because it charges those ions in the beautiful way, you know, where it's like they go out with this like lovely, um, you know, just warmth and like something that draws people in. And that's what we want to do as musicians. We want to draw people
Yeah.
in.
Yes. Yes, we do. That's beautiful. It's true. And those little moments are the nuggets that we're gonna have
Yeah.
when we're old and not touring and not, you know, we're not gonna be thinking about we're probably not even going to be thinking about how hard we worked or like who was our manager that year or, you know, whatever business stuff. It's like we're going to be thinking about those moments. Yeah.
No kidding.
And we have to, and hopefully, yeah, we can, you know, be grounded enough to be in them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Well, that's a great moment. I love that very much. Dang. So I wanted to ask you about what you are currently listening to and inspired by.
Yes.
Because I know the people that are watching would love to hear that as as well as I would too. If there's something new I haven't heard yet, you know?
Absolutely. Lately there's been a few things that have really been knocking my socks off. My favorite guitar player in a long time, I have to say, is I think she lives here these days. I actually don't know, but I'm sure you're probably familiar with Liz Cooper.
Oh yeah, yeah, she's incredible. Yeah,
She just is bowling me over like constantly live in the
yeah,
studio. Like, you know, she just did I can't remember who she just did a collaborative track with, but it just came out. It was her and her band, The Stampede, and
oh
another
yeah,
artist.
and Glass Dove.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's
It was
really good.
so creative and cool and just interesting and different. And that's her to a T to
Yeah,
me, like
yeah,
as a guitarist and an artist as well.
yeah.
So she's been one that's just come around and stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Another one like that, these are probably more obvious ones, and I'll try to come up with some more obscure ones too. But another one like that for me is a guy named Michael Kiwanuka.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Really, really like, and his guitar playing, it's like, it's not like this kind of crazy, flashy, like shreddy guitar playing, but tone, like what he's able to accomplish tone wise from
mm-hmm.
song to song, and like how well it fits the bill, and how it fits the bill in an interesting way. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's like in a way that's also like, yeah, he could have done this or this or this. He chose to do that. Wow, that's kind of cool. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
one of those kind of guys that makes you think. So he's another big one. Let's see, what else have I been listening to? Elizabeth Cook's album Aftermath actually has been one that like I just can't really haven't put down for a long time. Um, Amethyst Kia,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
she's really really great.
Yeah.
Big fan of hers. Let's see. What else have I been getting into lately? There's an artist from here in Nashville who makes really, really great guitar pop music, and she's about to put out a new record, which I believe is either her third or maybe even fourth record. But she's kind of been like just making amazing album after amazing album. I just keep waiting for it to explode. An artist named Tristan.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, she's
Um,
so good.
just really, really great stuff. Yeah, like consistently great, like song after song, and really interesting guitar stuff too. Like,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think she and her partner collaborate on the guitar stuff together, and it's really, really cool.
Yes, and what you said about that, about her just waiting for it to, I'm surprised it's not, in a different place. You know,
Right.
she's, yeah, so consistent is a great word to describe it. Yeah. Great,
So
great.
good. Yeah.
Great list, man. That's so many good people. I love that. I love that. A lot of Nashville folks too. I mean, there's so much going on here. It's a good place to live.
I've been getting into the local scenes here so much. Like, I've been getting really into the local like hip hop that's made here. There's a artist named Daisha McBride, who I think people call her like the rap girl or whatever. But her songs are so, her lyrics are like mind blowing. Like, she is flipping me out like over and over again. Like, oh, she just put out this new song called Pump Fake that's so incredible.
Nice.
Um,
Say her name
but,
one more time for everybody.
yeah, Daisha McBride
Okay.
is her name. And I believe she's on Instagram as the Rap Girl. So if you look her up on here, that'll be her Instagram handle.
Love it. Dang. Great list, my friend. I wanted to ask you as well, just out of curiosity for my own sake. What's the guitar that you're going to right now every day? Like what's your maybe not your favorite, but like what's the thing you're always pulling out right now?
Okay. This is a perfect forum for me to share this. So my friend Ben Blanc Dumont, who works at Fender,
Oh
who is
yeah.
a he's the artist relations. He is
Yeah.
just one of the greatest people, like, and a really great
Yeah.
guitar player
Yeah, he
too.
is. Yeah.
But anyway, he sent me this guitar. He sent me a text message, said, I want to send you a guitar. So I was, of course, enormously like flattered and was like, oh my gosh, like, cool. And
Yeah.
so he sent me this guitar that Fender has been making recently called the Acoustic Sonic.
Oh yeah. I
Have you
actually
heard of
went in and
these?
demoed that before they were making it. Yeah. Interesting.
So I got it out of the box. I didn't have any idea what it was that was coming to me. And
Mm-hmm.
I just looked at it and I thought, I will never play this guitar like ever. I just I think it looks weird and like I can't imagine myself like holding it and like I just
Yeah.
don't think I'll ever play this guitar. I literally have been playing almost nothing but that guitar for like I don't know how long ago he sent it to me, like 3 or 4 months ago. Like, it's so fun to play. And
Really?
like, and not even like, I mean, you can plug it into an amp and like,
Yeah.
do all the effects and stuff that you want on it, but like just picking it sits right next to my bed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
constantly picking it up and playing it. It never seems to go out of tune. The neck feels great. It's also like I put heavier strings on my electric guitar, so for me it feels very similar, but it
Yeah.
also like it produces a little more volume than an electric guitar. So for like practicing at home and stuff like that, it's really fun. But I've also started writing songs on it now.
Ah, nice.
So it's like it's become like it's just never judge a book by its cover, I guess, is
Yeah.
the lesson from that. Like, I took it out of the box and thought, I hate this, and now it's like the only guitar I'm playing.
That's so funny. When I was demoing that and they were, telling me to give them their honest opinions, I was like, I'd never play this on stage, but
Right.
probably at home, maybe, but I didn't have that much time with it. But that's so interesting. I love that.
Yeah. It's
I did not expect that answer to come from out of your mouth right now.
I never would have.
Yeah.
3 months ago I would have been like, no way, man. But like, I'm telling you, like, it really has surprised me, like, how much
Yeah.
I like that guitar.
Yeah.
What can I say?
There's like a really inexpensive Fender acoustic that I got from them, and it's just kind of, it's a parlor size. And
Yeah.
now that the strings are all dead, like
Oh,
it's my favorite thing to
I
play.
bet it
And
sounds
it's
awesome.
nothing
Yeah.
like, nothing's crazy special or old. Just, I mean, it just has, I used it on my latest record too. I mean, I used it to record with. I mean, I just loved it. Just had,
Yeah.
it's the way that the strings sound too, just
Right.
all up close there, and it was perfect, you know?
Yeah,
Sometimes
that's awesome.
you don't have to spend, you don't have to be buying the big dollar guitars, you know? You can get, I mean, you don't have to spend the big dollars on most things, is what I'm kind of finding
I
lately.
think that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really is about, like you said, fingers, and it's, you know, with recording stuff, it's about what's coming out of your mouth and out of the amp. You know, if that sounds good and you're capturing the sound in the correct way, you know,
Yep.
like,
Things are golden.
yeah, it's okay, you know, like you can SM7B for your vocals for a whole record. I mean, whatever, it's okay. We don't need to have $5,000 Neumanns, and that's great. I love that too.
Sure.
You know,
I sang my whole record on an SM7B
there you go. Yeah,
that I bought at Guitar Center for, you know, whatever, the
yeah,
$200 or whatever they
yeah.
cost, you know.
It's such a great mic, and it really, you can sing loud into it as well, you know, and
Yeah.
it maintains its, you know, quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a 58 in that regard. Like you can
Yeah.
really just go to town on it and it'll respond accordingly.
Yeah. So, did you produce this record of yours? I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I
fully
did.
all your production, this last one?
Yeah, I mean, I had like a co-captain of the team with me,
Sure.
my friend Gregory Latimer, he made the Albert Hammond Jr. record "Yours to Keep," the very first one.
Okay.
And so his recording style is like a lot like mine. It's very like function over fashion, and like just like, you know, what can we practically make, you know, that sounds really cool to us. And so he's really great on the engineering tip, you know, which I needed that because I can engineer, but
Yeah.
it takes me a really long time. Like it'll add, like if I'm engineering myself, that adds like
Yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
of hours on, like without even, you know,
You
having
don't,
a technical difficulty.
you don't need to be doing that. Yeah. The artist, producer, and the engineer. Yeah, it's a lot of hats.
So yeah, so yeah, it was great to have Gregory on board for all that stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
And for creative like production ideas too. Like
Sure.
we tag teamed that a lot of that stuff as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's always that person, right? Even when you're producing your own stuff, even when you're producing someone else, there is
Yeah, I
always
mean,
that.
Jimmy Iovine had Shelley Yakis like on, you know, the Springsteen stuff and the Patti Smith stuff, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, really, really good engineer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's really cool. Well, the record is fantastic, and can't wait to see you play live again, my friend.
Aw, I hope
Yeah.
we can play live together again. That would
Yes.
be super fun.
Yes. Hopefully so. That would be wonderful. I'm a little hesitant on the world getting back to normal so quickly right now. So, you know, I'm taking my time.
Yeah, us too. I hear
Taking
that for
my
sure.
time with the old dates on the calendar and stuff like that. And also, I do have a 13-month-old at home that I don't really want to leave too much. So
Yeah.
currently, but you know, we'll see what happens. But it's been really wonderful to talk to you, and thank you so
Likewise.
much for sharing, and thanks everybody for joining in tonight. Yeah, Aaron Lee Tasjan, everybody. Thanks so much, man. You
Thank
have a
you,
great
Brandy.
evening. See you
You
soon, my
too.
friend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.